Hello, and welcome to the week 3, day 2 summer lecture. This week is about understanding P2 or the recommendation report from the vantage point of day 2 in week 3. There's a lot more details to help get you started. And that's why I should start this. Okay. We will review the following table of contents on the screen, which is going to include more details about the task list and about how to collaborate. That might seem pretty silly, like I know how to collaborate. I do things online, but I've found that by giving suggestions to help with collaboration, things can go a little bit smoother for groups. For instance, consider what's happened with collaborative assignments that you've completed in the past. Ask yourself what this experience taught you about working with others and what it's taught you about working on your own to contribute to something larger. P2 is all about being a good team member. Group projects often result in two polar opposite types of team members. There's the lackadaisical person who believes they can turn in assignments at clutch time. They can do things last minute for the win. Then that you have the overachiever type person who believes in turning in assignments like a week ahead of time. And they kind of can come off as controlling. These two types of people can be the most toxic to any group project because they're so polar opposite. They are either going to clash or burn down the potential that the group can have to succeed. So because of this, you should decide to relent and compromise with each other. If you're lackadaisical, which is a nice way of saying you're lazy or procrastinator, instead of always waiting for the last minute, how about just for this project, you compromise with yourself and decide, okay, I'm going to do my part of what my team is asking for a day or two in advance. So they kind of can relax, they'll get off my back, and I'm compromising. If you're an overachiever, recognize when your need for control can be stifling to the group. Just step back and assess yourself. Maybe during a group meeting, stop talking. Ask for ideas for the group instead. Know that no one can be forced to do anything. I have kids, I know this. Consider how you can motivate and lift one another so the project becomes bearable and maybe even fun. Most important of all, the project can then be completed. Part of staying calm and in control in a good way of a group project is being prepared. This is where the P2 task list comes into play. There are 7 items on the list. 3 of them are collaborative, 4 of them are individual. I think I've mentioned that before. Of the remaining 4 tasks, they should be assigned to individual group members. And of the 3 collaborative tasks, it should be completed by the group. You can see them on the screen right now, the team charter, the rough and final draft. Only one person is going to be responsible for uploading these assignments that you see on the screen. That same person, as I've mentioned, should also be responsible for making sure the assignment is completed by all the teammates, curated on your Google Doc or whatever you're working from, and then you upload it to Canvas or USF Write. You need to have a first group meeting. During that first group meeting, however it occurs, chat, on WhatsApp, a phone call, a Zoom meeting, a Google Doc, notes, I don't know. During this meeting, you need to review the task list, what you see on the screen. You have to assign each group member one major and one minor task to be responsible for. Things you should note about the task list. Major assignments will be turned in on Canvas or USF Writes. Minor assignments will be submitted to Canvas and are assigned individually based on group consensus. If blue assignments are not submitted, group grades are not impacted. Items that are in blue, one person submits them and is the only one to receive a grade for that item. Assign one blue item per person. Black items like the team charter, the rough and final draft of the rec report, these are group assignments. One person should be responsible for uploading and making sure they are completed by the group. Overall, do not assign more than one person per item. This means don't put two people's names next to like the group progress report, because there's no way I can grade for two people for one individual assignment, if that makes sense. All these notes are on the task list sheet, as you can see, and you can access the task list in Understanding Concepts or find it in files on Canvas. These tasks are in place to ensure equity of work distribution for P2, both for accountability and for practicality's sake. The task list ensures that everyone is graded for both individual and collaborative assignments related to P2. Oh, that was a lot. During your first group meeting, like what you see on the screen, place a teammate's name next to each task. I meant to put a name next to each task so you could see it, but you'll imagine it. Note that certain tasks like the progress reports, the social justice component, the revision slideshow, they're individual assignments. That means if a teammate does not submit these assignments, only their grade is impacted. I say that a lot. I say it often. People still forget it and they complain that their teammate didn't turn in an individual assignment, and I don't care, and you shouldn't either because it only impacts their grade. Are you still confused about the task list and what some of the assignments on it are for? Review the P2 assignment slideshow in Understanding Concepts for more clarification regarding these assignments. Group progress reports. In order to complete these assignments, you and your team have to meet first. Then after meetings, someone in your group will draft a progress report, which updates me, your imagined superior, on what the meeting entailed and other things deemed relevant in the assignment guidelines for the progress reports. The password for the week 3 day 2 assignment that asks for it is on the screen. Going back to progress reports, when looking at the task list, you're going to notice there's 2 chances to submit progress reports. Different people should be completing a progress report assignment every time. An initial progress report is more detailed than a subsequent report. For a progress report, design is just as relevant as the text, meaning don't just submit a Word doc of what happened. Consider design, proofreading, and brevity before submission. Based on the task list, your group should submit 2 updates total. The format or the look should remain consistent for the 2 reports. And that means if Caden submits the first progress report for his group, Ariana should use the same template for her progress report for that same group, unless maybe the design elements were initially lacking. Caden got some feedback from me that the design elements were not there, and then Ariana decides to kind of fix it, then that's fine. The team charter. This is the first instance of collaborative writing for your group, and it's due at the end of week 3. This is a collaborative memo that establishes the rules for your group. It's also where you document who's going to be the project manager. This is required. During the first team meeting, decide on who is the project manager. You and your group are not allowed to come back to me and say, there's going to be no team manager. We are all the project manager. This approach has never worked for teams in the past. There needs to be a single voice that leads a team, again, without controlling their every task and what every single thing that gets done, but you need a single voice to lead you. So you need a project manager. More details about a team charter. You can think of it like a syllabus. A team charter establishes rules and expectations for group conduct. You can use the student sample to get you started. And everyone in the group should contribute 2 to 3 parts of the team charter. You can work from a Google Doc link or something similar. At the top of the team charter or any collaborative assignment, include a checklist of who contributed at the top. On the screen, you'll notice on the sample checklist, one name does not have a check mark. This means that teammate did not contribute to any part of drafting that collaborative assignment, and so the team left that blank. If you do not contribute to a group assignment, you're not going to receive a grade for it. The checklist helps me keep track. Because this is a group assignment, the team charter, make sure that everyone has access to the workspace, your Google Doc link or whatever you use. Set an expected date on the accessible workspace so that everyone in the group is aware of when you are going to submit the document, so they know when you're going to upload it. So for example, even though the assignment is due Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, all parts of the document should be completed before then, because you're collaborating with people and it's hard to make sure everyone does their part on time, right? The team decides, as an example, on a collaborative date and time of Saturday at 11:59 p.m. for all finished parts to be submitted to the Word doc or your Google Doc. This date and time should be top and center on the workspace for everyone to see after this day and time. The document will be proofread, formatted, and submitted by whoever. This date that you've all decided on provides all team members a chance to submit the work while providing accountability and expectations in the event one or more teammates does not submit their parts. This might happen. You should have a backup plan in case that happens, as it might, and you still need to finish all parts of the assignment to get a full grade. For any document type moving forward, look up design templates on Word, Canva, other apps. However, using a student sample is acceptable as long as you change the wording, you're not plagiarizing, and as long as a memo or the document type looks like it's supposed to, or a letter looks like a letter, and so on. Take note that missing out on P2 means compromising 50% of your total grade for 3250 this summer. Even so, I've built in some safety nets to make it less scary, as I know group projects can go sideways. That's why the task list exists, to have some group assignments, but individually graded assignments to balance that out. Likewise, if you have a teammate that drops off the face of the earth, you're still expected to carry on with finishing the recommendation report. But know that based on what I observe and I hear from other teammates in emails or the self and team evaluations, I will grade overall team participation in a separate assignment worth 100 points. You don't have to submit anything to receive these 100 points. Just participate with your group, show up to meetings, contribute to the group assignments, and you'll get your points for the P2 participation. Now that you have learned all of that, relax a little bit, because for week 3, completing a team charter is the only major thing you have to do. P2 is going to get completed, I promise you, and it's going to happen 1 week at a time. Do not worry right now about creating a template for the presentation. Don't worry about finding a solution for the group professional problem right now. All these little assignments that are peppered throughout the next few weeks are going to be scaffolded into creating that larger report. On the screen, you can review your second checklist for week 3. This sort of list is informal and can help you stay on track for what needs to be done. And then once you cross off things on your list, you're going to feel better about getting that much closer to being done with this class. essentially you're halfway through, and that's pretty cool. Now let's look at the upcoming assignments to finish out the week. We only should have one assignment to finish out this week. And okay, I'm on the wrong thing. To finish out this week, we start with understanding concepts for those supplemental links, such as a slideshow that helps review the items on the task list and like what exactly is each item. If you're wondering what is a social justice component, what should it look like, the task list slideshow is going to help you understand. And what should some of the other progress reports look like? When are they due? Recommendation report, rough draft, outline, and where are some samples? What are the images? What do those look like? There's so many images. This slideshow will help you. And there's, again, some examples. And understanding the platform types and some links that will help you download and use one of the 3 required platforms to create your recommendation report. That can be found there. And I did mention there's a 100-point participation assignment. And if you click there, it kind of explains it. And then next, there is another slideshow that helps you understand more about the team charter. I'm going to fix that little icon thing. And the different parts of the team charter. And then finally, we get to the team charter assignment outline. And there is a sample there that you can start from. You can either download it and work from there. Knowing that there's different parts to fill out. Essentially, again, you have to make it look like a memo. And that's why it has that format at the top that a lot of you should be familiar with because you've created a memo or you studied memo for project 1. So a part that is different that you haven't looked at before is that team checklist that tells me who contributed something to creating the team charter. I don't need to know what they did. You don't need to say they did this part and this part. If they contributed in some way, there's a check next to their name. If they never got back to you, they never touched the Google Doc at all, they never did their part, this line will be blank. And that's all you need to tell me about that person and what happened. I'm not going to update you on their grade or what happened. That's none of your business. All you need to do is fill out that checklist. Tell me your team's chosen name and bios about each other. Maybe some professional strengths and weaknesses, not personal strengths and weaknesses, but maybe, again, professional ones like I am very articulate or I'm a great typer. I'm really good at creating data visualizations, those kinds of things about you, ways your team can get in touch with you. The way you and your team have decided to collaborate, who's the team project manager, and then other parts that are outlined below. But one of the parts that are important to this team charter that I will either approve of or not approve of and follow up on an email with you if required would be the P2 task list that you're going to integrate into here. This is a student sample from a different semester, so it's going to look different than your task list. So you can see there's a lot more items on that task list that that team had to worry about. You only have to worry about 7 items. And who is going to complete those 7 items. So you're going to have that open and you're going to be meeting with your team and decide who is going to do which thing. And then you're going to put people's names next to each item. Even if you have a team member that didn't meet with you during the first meeting and they never got back to you, they still need to be assigned a blue task from the list, an individual assignment that they can be held accountable for later. You cannot lock them out of the P2 task list, major assignments, group participation, just because they didn't get back to you on time initially. Maybe they're going to get back to you eventually. And, or again, I need to grade that person for an individual assignment later. So all of the things you need to include in your memo are outlined here. The task list is here so you can review it. And again, I'll have to make sure that's linked properly. The task list is there for you to review and add it to your memo. At the top or the bottom, include the video lecture password that we went over. If you want to know how I'm grading it, it's right here. It's a 60-point group assignment that's due July 17th at 11:59 p.m. I suggest taking all of this, going to Google Docs, opening up a blank document. You have the outline. Once you have that ready, make sure it's shareable. You have to name it first. And then you have to make sure it's shareable by changing the access so that everyone can edit it. If you don't do that and you share the link with everyone, they can't do anything on the document. It's not very helpful. So copy the link after you've made it shareable. And then again, after you meet with your group, or even before that, I don't know, or an initial date, place a mutually agreed upon date and time that all parts of this document should be completed. And again, ideally, everyone should be completing 1 to 2 parts of it. And since you're working collaboratively anyway, maybe you start putting people's names next to tasks while you're meeting together. So you know who is doing what. You have control of the workflow. Maybe everyone does the group bios on their own, of course. But adding names next to each thing can be helpful. And then maybe highlighting it when you're done or something. And then once it's all done, transfer it to Microsoft Word, make it pretty streamlined, take away the names, take away the highlighting, make sure it looks like a memo, go back to the sample. Does it look like the sample? Does it look better than the sample? You looked up memos and you want it to look like that. Does it have a little slice of color? Not a lot. It shouldn't look like too fun of a document, but it should look like a professional document rather than boring like this. Once that's done, you're done for week 3, and that's all you have to worry about. And if you have questions after you reviewed all of the materials and understanding concepts, reach out to me.